When it comes to science, Elon Musk is a pretty smart guy who uses his abilities to try and solve some of the many problems that mankind faces, such as global warming, intergalactic space travel, and prolonging humanity's existence. But now he is helping solve a problem much closer to home. On the 24th of February 2022, the Russian Federation launched a wide-scale invasion of Ukraine. In the devastating first week of the conflict, much of Ukraine lost access to its internet, which has gravely inhibited its communications and media outlets. So where does Elon Musk come into all of this? Well, Elon is trying to help solve this situation by providing Ukraine with as many of his Starlink devices as he can spare, ensuring the Ukrainian people can continue to access the internet, allowing them to communicate and share information with the wider world. But surely Elon is worried about going against Vladimir Putin, especially after Putin's threats of further escalation against those who intervene. But this is not the first time where Elon Musk and Vladimir Putin has gone head to head. To get their astronauts into space, the United States have to buy spaces on the Russian Soyuz rockets. But the Russians are charging them extortionate prices as Putin is not world renowned for his kindness, especially when it involves the United States. So instead of Elon paying the Russians extortionate fees for spaces on the Soyuz rockets, he instead decided to build his own. Following in Elon's genius, SpaceX have decided to produce rockets that can land by themselves, in addition to moving towards deep space exploration rockets, such as the Starship Super Heavy, with the capability to land after use unlike the Russian Soyuz rockets. Elon Musk's SpaceX has been working on building an entire network of satellites that will encompass the whole planet named Starlink. His plan has been to create a web of satellites that will all share information among themselves whilst receiving information from receivers on Earth, which would provide the world with an easy, accessible communications network. Elon has invested a lot of time and effort into working on this network to ensure that it is both incredibly powerful whilst also maintaining high speeds, both factors of which are vital for a nation like Ukraine, which is currently at war and has lost most of its communication networks. So how did this come about? Well, the Ukrainian first Vice Prime Minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, tweeted at Elon Musk the following: "At Elon Musk, while you try and colonize Mars, Russia tries to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand." This tweet was prompted by much of Ukraine's internet network being eviscerated in the first week of the war. So it was vital that a new network be put in place fast to allow Ukraine access to its communications. In just under 10 hours since Mikhailo Fedorov's tweet was posted, Elon Musk shot back in true Elon style with this: "Starlink service now active in Ukraine, more terminals en route." With Starlink now operational in the Ukrainian people were once again able to communicate with each other as well as the wider world, setting many families at ease who had not heard from loved ones for quite some time, whilst also allowing the Ukrainian people to access to share images and videos of the conflict to raise awareness. Whilst the Starlink satellites allow for global communications to take place, there must be receivers on the ground to transmit that information up to the satellites. Ukraine did not have any of these receivers, so once again Elon Musk was able to quickly solve that issue by dispatching a truck full of them. So not long after, Elon's reply trucks arrived in the Ukraine carrying the Starlink receivers, which would allow the Ukrainians access to the network. Elon further warned people that once activated, Starlink would be the only non-Russian owned communication system still working in many parts of the Ukraine. So the probability of it being targeted by the Russians is high, as the Russian military will be taking steps to further knock out Ukraine's capabilities to communicate with each other and the wider world, making Starlink a point of interest for the Russians. The Ukrainian people were advised to camouflage and hide the receivers, as they would be targets for the Russians to destroy in an attempt to once again quell Ukraine's new network. But what happens if the Russians gain access to the Starlink network? Well, surprisingly, the Russians are not barred from accessing the network. This might come as a surprise, especially after many networks and governments around the world have cancelled Russia by turning off and even banning their content. Whilst many are overjoyed by this, some even called on Elon Musk to ban Russian news sources from his behemoth communications network. And in true Elon Musk fashion, he has refused, instead stating in a recent tweet, Starlink has been told by some governments, not Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist. Whilst this may be a controversial take on the matter, and is something many will be frowning upon, it goes to show that in the interest of free speech, Elon Musk will continue letting Russian news sources share their side of the conflict. Whether it's propaganda or not, freedom of speech is seen as a vital asset to democracy. So whilst to some this is disappointing, it is a vital necessity. I for one am very excited to see further developments of Starlink, and I look forward to possibly seeing further drastic changes to our everyday lives as a result of it. Let us know your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. And with that being said, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest space news.